Robbie,
Hi,
thanks for joining me.
thanks for having me. It's really kind of you to give us this space here at IdeasFest.
We enjoy it, honestly. The people we're meeting, just incredible people, doing incredible things and changing the world little bit by bit, and it's actually incredible to be here as well. So, Robbie, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, what problem you're solving, what's your mission. Yeah, give us the elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch. Well, my kind of problem solving is basically from my own personal experience, and that is kind of having burnout. I've worked in quite a few startups as part of the founding teams, and it's a very, very stressful place to work in a startup. And the last place I worked in about 2 years ago, I'm just burnt out. I was like on my knees. I was just totally destroyed from it emotionally, physically. I was ill. I had to go and spend 2 weeks in bed because I was just totally wiped. And
What are the fundamental, like, just quickly on the burnout section? What are the fundamental sort of signifiers of burnout? Like, do you remember what they were? Do you remember like how you felt in the early stages of burnout? Because I think that's something that's really important. Because I think a lot of people, once you've been through it, you could probably then avoid it in the future, I guess. But
it's really tricky because when you're like part of a founding team with a startup, everybody's really enthusiastic, really excited, and everybody's doing everything they can to get this business off the ground. And you might have been hired for kind of specific tasks, but you end up getting your fingers dirty on all these different other areas that you might not have the greatest skill set for. You just have to muck in where the fires are and fight them. And so what happens for me anyway, what happens is you get, you just start working longer hours, and you're kind of running on adrenaline a lot because you're excited and it's exciting. So you just push away the kind of like, you just start feeling tired all the time.
yeah,
But you kind of push it to the background because you're on this mission to do what you're doing. And then it just gets to the point where you burn out. So, we didn't really have when we first started that business, we had like a part-time, like half day a week HR person who was really just looking through like payroll, then, and there was a very basic kind of wellbeing digital package, which really had no value, really, some stuff to read. If you're feeling overwhelmed and tired, then, get in touch with HR. Nobody reads it. Nobody reacts to it. So none of the founders pulled us all together and said, look, we know this is really hard. Let's talk about well-being and can we do anything to help? It was just pull us together. Let's talk about the next problem we've got to solve. So there was a lax from the founders as well because they were all burning out too. And so to say, if you notice, as soon as you start working more than 40 hours a week, I think you're moving into a place which is going to potentially lead you to burnout.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense, and I think I've been close to burnout, definitely, like working sort of 60-70 hour weeks and things like that, but they were never,
it's not sustainable.
it's not at all. And with a young family and working around them, and it's completely tricky. But I know plenty of people who have experienced burnout like fully, and had those 2 weeks in bed and been ill and caused themselves inflammation and all that kind of stuff. So you experienced burnout, you had that 2 weeks. What are you doing now?
Well, once I came out of that organization, actually, I got made redundant. And ultimately they went bust. They had to let people go, and then they went bust. I was just like, I don't want to do this work this way anymore. I kind of got this kind of nature in me to go and help, get involved. So that's why I was giving everything to that organization. But I grew up in a house in Scotland in the middle of a wood. It was called Woodhouse. So I've got this really deep, long-term connection with nature that I didn't realize how kind of strong it was until after I had that burnout. And going walks in the woods was really helpful to help getting my head back together again and stuff when I was kind of recovering from that.
Nice.
And I just, I spent my whole life in nature a lot. We go camping loads. We actually own a little piece of a forest in Devon, which is wild. And we go camping there with our friends and families all through the summer and the autumn. And, at the weekends we go out into this field some of our friends have got with a bit of wood, and we've like fires all year round. There's a group of us, so me, my family and our friends are in nature all the time, and I've spent my whole life being in nature as much as I can, so I've got a real affinity with it. And I was looking at what could I do that was change, kind of pivot away from my work, and I came across this forest bathing where there's no swimming involved. You don't bring any towels with you.
Forest bathing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it comes out of Japan.
Right.
And it comes from an ancient spiritual kind of practice in Japan called Shinto, which has been going on for like hundreds of years. And then there was a tech boom in the 80s in Japan where they had lots of problems with people who were burning out in all these new tech startups. And also lots of men were committing suicide.
Yes, I've heard that,
jumping
actually,
out of office block windows and stuff, because they've got this kind of real pride thing in Japan, and they can't go home and face their family if they're too stressed out. And there was a real crisis. So the Japanese government were like, what are we going to do? And then they decided that they were going to really promote people being in nature as a therapy to kind of help them calm down, reset, get better clarity, get better focus. And they titled it Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing.
Right.
And so the Japanese have been doing research on this since the 80s on this for the last 40, 50 years. And there's massive health benefits to it, scientific. So it's not hippies hugging trees. So the trees release photosides, which are chemical aerosols, and they use them to protect themselves. It's their immune system, protect the trees from, disease or insects, things like that. And when we walk amongst the trees, we absorb those aerosols, and they affect our immune system. They boost our killer immune cells. So when you go into the woods and spend some time in amongst trees, things that happen to you straight away is your heart rate lowers, your anxiety and stress levels lower, your immune system gets boosted. So, and there's a whole load of other things as well, science backed, that affect you in a very positive physical and mental way. We don't go for a walk in the woods. It's more about being still in a space of wood and doing lots of techniques to help you reset and kind of reconnect with yourself. The things that kind of we do some mindfulness techniques. We do nature immersion, where you kind of just left for 15, 20 minutes in silence, just sitting under a tree or in an open clearing, and just...
on your own or with others?
We'll be sometimes I take individuals, I've taken businesses out, groups of people, or, fives, twos, a whole variety of things, still doing the same kind of things. If you're with a group, everybody's pointing in a different direction, so you can't see anybody else for that part of it.
Yeah.
We do curious play, we do nature art. And after each technique, and we open our senses up, we work on our senses, so we start seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling all the different things that are happening around us. We really tune into the forests.
Nice.
And as we tune into the forest, we're tuning into ourselves as well. And we are, through our DNA, we were all hunter-gatherers. We've got a huge connection to nature that sits within us, deep within us, as humans.
Yeah.
But 50% of the process is sharing. Sharing. So after we do each technique, we all gather together in a circle, and everybody shares how that experience felt for them. And that's really, really powerful. And quite often people are drawn back to their childhoods, because what we want to do is a lot of what you get from nature therapy and forest bathing is connecting back to that curious, free self inside you that you had when you were a kid. So quite often people will talk about, I picked up this pine cone when you asked us to go and look for things and bring them back to share, because when I was a kid, I used to love throwing pine cones and collecting them and throwing them and stuff. So you get, especially when you've got groups or you bring out teams, you might have the alphas and you've got the really quiet ones, and then you've got everybody in the middle, when they're all kind of like sharing these kind of intimate kind of thoughts, personal thoughts, but in a very chilled way. It's subtly very powerful, and there's a real deep connection they form with each other as well as with themselves, and as well as with the nature that they're all connecting. So I facilitate nature's power, basically.
I mean, that's a pretty good job description. I facilitate nature's power.
As nature is the best medicine,
Well, they do say that though. As well as laughter, but it's I've just never thought of that. I mean, I'm a fairly suburban boy, growing up on the outskirts, but And I've always loved nature. Actually, my youngest son, he loves it. He loves being out in the woods, loves hiding, and it does feel like a very childish. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but like a childish, innocent thing that we like. We're all drawn back to it somehow. Like even people who like, I guess, live in London, eventually they probably move out because they need that quieter, more immersive, like nature-led life. And I'm really interested what you were saying though about the immune system that the tree has, like how that gets released. What kind of effect is that having on us though? Like, because I know you're saying like it helps us improve our immune system, but or we have a connection with it. But what is going on in our bodies when we're doing that? Like when we're breathing that in, what is it doing to us?
It's lowering our blood pressure. It's lowering our anxiety levels. It's boosting these cells that are called the killer cells, and these are the cells that basically are our immune system. So it's boosting those. We're getting more of them while we're in the woods. And when we so there's a kind of physiological changes happening, but there's also emotional change, because yourself, when you go and just stand under a tree, you just feel calmer. You just feel better.
I remember my English teacher back in school. She's like, like we have books to read. She's like, do me a favor and just go sit under a tree and do it, because you'll be able to concentrate better and you'll be able to use your imagination better. And I just thought she was taking the piss. I was just like, I'm not sitting under a tree, miss. I'm not doing that. But I completely understand. Miss Allen, she was called. I remember it, but. And it's such a weird thing, and I kind of understand that now, having heard what you're talking about now.
Yeah. I mean, that thing with the techniques I use, it brings you back to your childhood, and it opens up creativity. It's great for media companies to come out, and especially marketing companies and PR and media teams to come out and do nature therapy, because it opens up creativity. That you reconnect with that child part of you, that playful, innocent, playful curiousness. That comes out. You also get much more clarity and much more focus from being in the woods my sessions are 2 to 3 hours, depending on the number of people that I've got. Kind of like max out about 10 people.
Right.
So we'd be in the woods for 3 hours, because I need the time for everybody to share. As I say, the sharing is really important.
And take your time doing it as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's something that can be rushed.
Yeah, and we invite people to you don't have to share. There's no you must do. It's all invitation based. So everything is just I'm inviting you to do this now for us. And at the end we always do the art part. So we break people up into 2 pairs and go off and just say, make some art with whatever you find. Yeah. And then we'll have a cup of tea and a snack, and we'll walk around and just look at everybody's art, and they can tell us how that happened. But there's no competition, and there's no. The stuff that people create. It's like yesterday, I did a micro session just over there in the woods. Oh, I'm doing another one today.
Oh, actually, are you?
Yeah, at 2:45.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's just in the chill out zone.
Okay, yeah.
So if any of you are free, you should come over because have a taste of it. It's really beautiful. And what this couple, this pair, they had got some wood and moved away all the leaves, so they just had this square of brown soil, and then got a bunch of leaves and made a heart. And
nice.
And then another group had just built this kind of like wooden frame, like a tipi frame, and then made like loads of wood going off it, so it kind of looked like a big wheel. And you just don't, and they're just smiling at each other. Just sounds really
playful and chilling.
And just they're free. There's just no responsibility.
Yeah.
Just total freedom to create whatever comes to you. No.
Well,
and that is powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm also doing digital as well. I'm moving into the digital realm for nature therapy, because lots of people are disconnected to nature. They're living in urban environments, and because they're disconnected to nature, they don't understand it. They don't have any, and so that means they don't respect it. And so we're losing a lot of our nature all really quickly. And once we lose a certain amount of our nature, we'll all die. Humanity will be gone. So it's quite a serious thing, this. And so I want to use digital nature to bring people into nature first through the digital realm. Then hopefully that will awaken them a little bit, and so that they'll then start going out more into nature, even if it's just the local park, or it doesn't have to be out in a beautiful woods. So that's what I'm going to be now moving forward doing through the digital world. And there's actually science to prove that looking at a picture on your screensaver of a forest will actually drop you down your heart rate and your anxiety levels.
I've literally just gone to the latest version on my Mac, and that's the screensaver now. Is a woodland, and it's incredibly calming.
Yeah.
Robbie, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on. I wasn't expecting the way that conversation went at all, and I think what I've taken away from that is that chemical reaction that we can have with that chemical connection we can have with nature and trees and things. And where can people find you? Where can they get in touch with you, mate?
Well, my website is bigheartedtree.com. Bigheartedtree.com, yeah.
Bigheartedtree.com. You're not forgetting that in a hurry.
Yeah, and there's all the information there about, it tells you all about what the process is and also how it will affect you, the science behind it. And yeah, please, get in touch, drop me an email, robbie@bigheartedtree.com. And, let's talk and let me take you and or your teams out into the woodlands. And
then just connect with nature again.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Robbie, thank you so much, mate.
Well, thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Yeah, you too. And I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, mate.